This is sodium metal. It's stored under oil because it's very reactive to moisture and air. Most metals are hard, but sodium metal is really soft, and you can squish it just with your fingers if you squeeze really hard. Metals are usually shiny, and sodium metal is as well, but because it's so reactive, it quickly tarnishes. But because it's so soft, it can be easily cut with a knife, and on the inside, we can see the nice and shiny metal. After only like 10 seconds, it's already tarnished. This is some chromal chloride that I made about a year ago, and it's one of my favorite chemicals. I'm not sure why, but I've always been a big fan of dark liquids that let off scary looking fumes. When there's a whole bunch of it, it almost looks black, but in small amounts, it almost looks the same as blood. I mean, if you ignore all the corrosive and carcinogenic vapor. Just like other angry liquids, it can be a bit of a pain to store, and it's often best to put it in something like a glass ampule. To do this, I made an ampule from a test tube, and once all the chromal chloride was in it, I sealed it with a blowtorch. This is bromine. It's chemically very similar to chlorine, except chlorine's a gas and bromine's a liquid. It also lets off a lot of nasty orange vapor, and this is why I sealed it in glass. Bromine's really dense, and it's more than 3 times as dense as water, and this makes its vapor really heavy. Bromine's notoriously difficult to store, and if I just put it all back into a bottle or something, it would damage everything around it. So I have to seal it again in a glass ampule that I made from a test tube. This is mercury metal. It's one of the only elements that's liquid at room temperature, and it's also very dense. It's even denser than lead, and it can float this bag of lead on top of it. Mercury is known for being very toxic, but in its metallic form, it's kind of okay to touch. This is because, as long as you don't have any cuts or anything, it's not able to go through skin. But it does let off invisible vapor that you can breathe in, which can lead to mercury poisoning. So, even though it is kind of fun to play with mercury and to touch it, I really don't recommend it. Phosphorus is an element that can come in a few different forms. One of the most reactive forms is white phosphorus, and a while ago, I was able to get some chunks of it. It's stored underwater to protect it from air, and the moment I take it out, it starts smoking. This is because it's reacting with oxygen and letting off phosphorus oxides. It's often used to make large amounts of smoke, but it's also sometimes used as a weapon, which is a bit terrifying. This is because white phosphorus is not only very toxic, it's also super hard to put out when it's on fire. To test this, I'm just going to light this small piece. It immediately starts burning and splashing, but I can put it out by just smothering it, which makes it seem not that bad. However, because it's so reactive with air, this is what happens when I take away the dish.